Welcome to GovFocus. I'm Amy Kluber and eager to discuss more about the tech behind customer experience strategies in the federal government. With me, I have Karen Howard. She's Executive Director and Head of the Office of Online Services at the IRS. And also Elizabeth McCarthy, Senior Director of Technology and Digitalization Lead at Maximus. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yep, thank you.
So there's a widespread push, as we know, for improving the customer experience right now in government. And there are so many facets to what that entails from a tech standpoint around automation, data analytics, and more. So let's start with talking about what does modernizing the customer experience mean to you, and where does technology fit into that conversation? And Karen, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's a great question, Amy. I think when we talk about and we think about modernizing the customer experience and leveraging technology, we're really looking at, from a perspective of technology, making sure technology is scalable and modern, and that you have modern processes to address customer needs, priorities, and pain points iteratively. By observing and listening intently to the customer in ways that help them to understand, as well as the organization to understand the present and future needs of the customer to improve their engagement with the organization, is really key to then being able to leverage technology combined with machine learning and AI to really give to address the customer's current needs as well as future needs. By observing and listening, organizations really have a holistic understanding of what customers are doing, just as much as what they're saying. Lots of times there's a disconnect between what a customer's saying versus what they're doing versus what they think they want. So I think combining machine learning with technology, with AI, and combining all of that with data and insights ensures the delivery of an experience-enhancing solutions and allows organizations to begin to better predict customer needs before the customer recognizes those needs themselves. I think when we really get into artificial intelligence and really using that to bake in a self-service environment that allows the customer to, engage with the organization in the way they would like to, when they would like to. That really is one of the pinnacles of modernizing the customer experience.
Elizabeth, what about from your end? What are you seeing kind of in the private industry side?
So very similar, actually. And what we look at is some of the motivation, what's driving the interaction, especially with the IRS, what's driving that interaction, and what are the current options for those interactions. And once you understand, the reason for the contact, then you can look at what options are available for the taxpayer to make that contact, and can they be improved? Do you need to look at omni-channel options, a chatbot, a virtual assistants? And that's where the technology comes in. So always starting with that people focus first, and then looking at the process and the tools for possible improvements.
Definitely. And
absolutely.
And Karen, you had mentioned something that it's not about just, sometimes you need to know what questions to ask and where to even get started. So where do you get started? How do you approach that?
I think we really approach it with a, Elizabeth said it best, customer-centric perspective. So trying to define what's the problem we're trying to solve, and then going out and looking at the different feedback and user research methodologies to begin to answer that question in a way that makes the most sense. But really starting with trying to define that customer intent, the journey that they're on. Is that the right journey? Is there a better journey? Because, we really like to look at what they're doing and what they need to be doing. And that gets into kind of the predictive piece of the equation.
Definitely. There's also so many challenges around this area right now, especially with it being kind of a new executive push for agencies all around. So what are some of these challenges for you? What do they look like at IRS? And how do you ensure you can keep up with the pace of change? Karen, do you want to start?
Yeah, great question. With every great thing comes a challenge of ultimately getting there, right? So when I think of a lot of the challenges in this space, it really is about looking at organizational cultures and helping them understand that a rush to a solution without truly understanding the user experience can lead to a solution that does not serve all or serve all well. So the underpinnings, in my opinion, of a really great solution, technology solution, is really to understand the user experience and design that ultimate solution in a way that reflects not necessarily the current experience, but what you want the experience to be based on feedback from the customer from various angles, data, insights, and the like. So when organizations rush to deliver something without allowing time to leverage data and garner feedback, it really can be something that ends up not meeting the need, and in worst case, technological debt. So when we really think about the challenges, it really is, especially in larger organizations that have a lot of legacy solutions out there, it really is about change management. When an organization is going through a lot of change and they know where they want to be, usually the problem is not knowing where they want to be, but how to get there and how to change the way we think about, the skill sets in our people and the skill sets in our leaders, as well as the solutions that we have available, and do they still fit the needs of the business? So taking that technological audit, taking that people audit really is something that organizations, it's almost like a second thought. It almost is when technology fails or a solution is not meeting the need, do they go back and do that? So I would think the biggest challenge in summary is really change management and getting people and organizations to think about the user experience and the problem you're trying to solve and the use case first, and then looking for a solution that will support not where you are today or what you're doing today, but where you want to be and what you want to be doing tomorrow.
Elizabeth, anything to add on to that?
It's just a couple of thoughts. Technology is never going to have a finish line. So rushing to deploy one thing just means you find the next. So I completely agree with Karen's assessment of finding the right solution, not the fastest solution, and implementing that. Some of the challenges that are faced are, applications that were developed in silos. And so you have very, very diverse infrastructure that requires significant O&M budgets just to maintain. And then when you attempt to migrate or modernize them, again, if it happens in a silo, you still end up with different applications and not a streamlined approach to data, to microservices, to other items that can create efficiency in a modernized environment.
Right. Very good points.
Very good.
Yes. So when it comes to data analytics, there's so many uses for data, especially with data being gold, as everyone says right now. So Karen, how is your office using data to kind of inform its business approach to how you're thinking about some of these tech solutions?
Oh my goodness, it's so funny because not only do we use data, but we also use insights, right? And I think it's very important to combine data with insights to get a full picture. But the way we use data is really to understand behavior, personas, and journeys. We also use data to validate solutions. Are they working? Why aren't they working? What things do we need to tweak? And again, when I say data, I'm really talking about the full bore of data and insights combined. We use data to measure adoption and success. That allows us to iterate on continuous improvements of whether it's processes or applications that we have out there that we want to continue to refine and build on. It also allows us to pivot. If we're going in the wrong direction, we're not seeing the adoption rate, we're not seeing, we're getting feedback that isn't what we intended for the tool, we can use data to kind of understand and analytics to understand why and how and what we can do better. again, data combined with insights can provide the full picture of a problem that you're trying to solve, or the customer you're trying to understand, or an issue with the solution that you may have initially thought was the best approach, and then data and insights will then be used to validate it if that is indeed the approach you want to take.
Well, Karen, I completely agree with what you said. I think there's such value in data-driven analytics and using that data to help with making decisions towards how to approach better interactions with the taxpayer, how to improve those, and using the data that you have. Some of the challenges there are a lot of the legacy data systems. There's a lot of duplication in data. There's a lot of different formats of the same data. So it's very imperative that quality data fabric services are applied so that there is that validation, elimination of duplication, and then the data sets that you're working with are reliable and validated.
I would agree with you 100%. We tend to forget how important data hygiene and data definition is to really fostering a data-centric organization. So absolutely, Elizabeth, that is a great point.
Fantastic. So another facet of this issue, when we're talking about data and how that informs kind of the business approach, and of course, how you choose technology pieces, part of that is equity and inclusion. And a lot of the directives that are coming out right now in government with diversity, et cetera, it has impacts on the workforce, and just like any data modernization strategy, that also impacts the workforce. So how do you recruit and retain a workforce in the face of this constant change? And how are you approaching the data management in relation to that? Karen, do you want to start?
Yeah, it really is. It's a fine line, right? You want to use data to, recruit, retain, attract a good, strong workforce. Well, you kind of have to understand it's almost like fishing, right? If you fish for a certain type of fish in the wrong type of water, you won't get what you need. So it's really using data to understand geographic locations of some of the subject matter expertise that we're looking for. Where do high technology and emerging technology geolocations and geographic locations exist? And where are the universities that are fostering those programs that are really lean into some of the talent that we need? So leveraging data to figure that piece out, people in geographic areas, also to make sure that, we have a diverse workforce, looking at how the workforce looks today in comparison to the people we serve, whether it's a taxpayer or customer. Does our workforce mimic? That way you get that diverse feedback and a perspective that is valuable when you're creating tools that are made for people to use to comply with their taxes. So, everybody pays taxes, so we have to almost address everyone's diverse perspective. When we look at modernizing, so when we talk about also recruiting and workforce and the constant change, we also had to look at diversity in working models, right? People, sectors of people now have shifted to different working models. So using data, feedback, surveys, insight to figure out, okay, what are the working models that attract the type of talent that we're looking for? It's no longer, if you're looking for coders or people in content strategists. Right now, what's driving a lot of that are these hybrid work models. So we have to also use data to figure out how well or how are we leveraging hybrid work models in comparison to what's out there in surveys, and then begin to bring or introduce those into our culture so that we are attracting different and diverse types of people who like to work in different ways.
Right, exactly. And Elizabeth, you mentioned something about legacy systems, of course, and how that kind of fits into the conversation. And when we're talking about the workforce, but also trying to introduce new technologies, how do you get a workforce kind of on board with dealing with both of these kind of environments?
So, I have supported the IRS as a contractor for almost 20 years now. And I think one of the things that the IRS does really well is install that sense of mission into the resources that they bring on board. And that's very important to create that positive culture among that workforce team. And, I think a well-defined career path, even if you're starting working on a legacy system that may be coded in VB6 or C# or something, and the understanding that, over time, the intention is to modernize those applications, and everyone will be given the opportunity to do that. And then also just fostering that sense of continuous improvement, not just in technology, but in every aspect of the position and the role, in how they approach the work, and also an environment where everyone has a voice.
Very valid points, and so much that we could go off into that. But I'm glad we brought up those critical ones for sure. So when we talk about, Karen, you mentioned emerging technologies earlier. When we talk about emerging techs like AI and machine learning and some of those critical pieces of technology that are making waves in government right now, how do you see these supporting the tools and your strategies and kind of furthering these customer experience goals?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we think about the customer experience, the taxpayer experience. It starts with the employee experience. And so AI and machine learning tools, as is one of the primary, the creme de la creme of emerging technologies right now. It offers a streamlined approach and a way to understand what questions people are going to ask before they ask it, to understand what problems people are going to have before they have it, also to predict what solutions people need, even if they don't recognize that they need it today, right? Think about Apple, right? No one ever knew that they wanted their phone to take a picture until the phone started taking pictures, right? It was really just something to call someone. But as we look at AI and machine learning, it really does help with defining the future and innovating out in front of the experience for employees and customers in a way that is, fast-paced, right? It solves the problem in a very streamlined and fast way, prevents people from having to, connect in ways that they rather not. If you prefer to do something through a chat bot, it's there for you. Even if you call, there's AI built into some of the, branches of phone lines that can really help get people to where they need to go quicker. And in a lot of cases, proactively provide them a solution, even before they have to connect with a human being. I don't think we'll ever be to a point where we won't need human resources to help, solve solutions. But I think the technology that's emerging helps make the interaction with a person more valuable. It's a corner case. It's a niche problem. But the tools that are out there now that are really leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning have used data to understand what are the most frequent activities that people want to do, or what are solutions, or anticipate what information they'll need, and serves it up in near real time.
Fantastic. Elizabeth, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, man, that was an in-depth answer, Karen. I'm just going to pivot a bit and talk about a different capability, because I feel like that was really great. And bring some RPA, robotic process automation, into the discussion as well. RPA can really improve employee experience, not just taxpayer experience. And bots can be created and deployed to help navigate multiple windows that may be open at the same time on a CSR's desktop, or they could complete repetitive fields that have to be completed for every call that someone takes. They can analyze incoming email and based on keywords and then machine learning, as they learn those words, forward those emails to the appropriate recipients for resolution. So all of those things can, save time, improve response times to the taxpayers, and improve the employee experience as well.
That's so true, Elizabeth. I mean, you can't say AI and ML without saying RPA, right? I mean, that's where we are today. It's a trifecta of, experience enhancing tools. And thank you for reminding us of that.
All right, fantastic. Well, we are down to our last minute or so. Is there anything you would like to add about how you are kind of envisioning the customer experience of the future, or in this case, the taxpayer experience, and how technology is going to help support that? Karen?
Yeah, I can tell, one of the main things that we hear from our, stakeholders, customers, constituents, from a government perspective is the online account. And I think as we look at how we really advance the online account, using technology to not only make it secure, but allow it to be able to serve you in however way you need to be served to meet your tax obligations. So if you think a la Bank of America, a la Amazon, right? If I want to pay my taxes, if I want to find out where my refund is, if I want to know how much I owe, if I want to set up a payment plan, that's where online account. And I think as we leverage this emerging technology, even machine learning and AI and process automation, right, to anticipate what a customer wants or taxpayer and communicate back, I think that's when we'll reach ultimate utopia with our taxpayers, with our customers, with the taxpaying community, so that they can go straight to their online account, feel confident that it's secure and safe, the information, be able to do 90% of their tax-paying activities right there in their account. I see that as, the North Star of where we're trying to get to. And after that, everything else just becomes information on IRS.gov just to keep up with tax law and activities of changing tax laws. But if we can get online account to a point where it is driven by bots and automation, I think we'll be in a really good place.
Fantastic points. And I like the phrase you have there of creating an ultimate utopia at the IRS, because I'm sure that's music to lots of people's ears.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
I just want to say, I completely agree with what Karen said. I think that, the effort to change the perception of the IRS from the tax collector to one of encouraging compliance among all U.S. citizens is very valid and achievable. And that's the ultimate goal, right, is to increase compliance. And, there's ways that we can measure that in smaller activities, incremental activities. How much time are we saving employing those bots? And are we getting, valuable analytics, actionable insights out of our AI capabilities? And then take those and grow, and and continue to apply and learn and build that culture of continuous improvement.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both, Karen and Elizabeth, for joining us and talking about some of these critical areas in tech modernization and at IRS specifically. So this was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.